Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the podcast where we've got Grace Hardy. So I'm really excited about this one. Obviously, Grace is going to come and talk to us about, basically give us a Gen Z's perspective to a few bits and bobs. So yeah, nice to see you, Grace. How are you doing?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, great. Thanks. Like I said, really excited to have you here. I think really for the viewers and the listeners that are watching or listening to this podcast, it'd be great to learn more about you and more about your business.
Yeah, of course. So for me, I decided to go against not going to uni. I couldn't afford it and I'm severely dyslexic, so it's not exactly a place that I would thrive in. So I chose to do a apprenticeship instead. So I did that in accounting. I did it for 3 years. I got qualified with my AAT level 3 and 4, left after the third year and decided to start my own practice, Hardy Accounting, when I was 21. And it was all based around giving people financial education and free knowledge, as well as catering to young business owners.
Perfect. And how's the business gone then? And how long have you been running it?
So can't complain 'cause I'm still here. It's been running for just over a year now.
So just over a year. And how I actually found you, Grace, was at Accountex. You were doing a talk there about, I won't describe it because I think you'll be better at describing it than I do, but you were doing a talk at Accountex. So what was that talk about?
So that talk was about the Gen Z way to innovate your practice. So it was talking about personal branding, the use of social media. So 90% of our clients come through TikTok, which is crazy. And so it's showing the power of social media and how to digitalize your firm.
So, what I'd love to understand and get a bit more of your perspective on is running a business as a Gen Z and how you're innovating the business and using sort of new technologies to bring it into your business.
Also, from the outset, I knew it was something that I wanted to be completely remote. I had no interest in getting an office. I originally started the company because I couldn't go to Bali because it was rainy season, and I do still want to go to Bali. So I knew I had to set it up to be able to take it away anywhere in the world. So when we set out, we started by using cloud software. So Xero and Sage bookkeeping and accounts preparation, and then making sure that every part of our client's journey could be done from anywhere in the world. So we use Unify for onboarding. So our client can go on the link, sign the proposal, letter of engagement, and have AML all on one workflow, all through one click, which is so helpful and just keeps everything super streamlined. They can obviously upload their identification there as well, and any bits we need from them, like a UTR, company's house authentication code, etc., can all be done through that link. So all of the information is in one place. From there, we made sure that when we were working with people or hiring or subcontracting, that everyone was based remotely and that the work could be done remotely as well, which has been such a blessing because it means when I go on holiday, the work doesn't have to stop. I can still log in and check all my clients are okay. The bookkeeper and the payroll manager can still do their work because everything is just done online.
And it's a really interesting point about working remotely. Why is it that you wanted that from the start? What was the goal behind that?
So for me, even in my apprenticeship, I started it in 2020 during COVID. So I started my apprenticeship completely remotely. And so I had to adjust to that straight away. There was no, oh, welcome to the office. This is this filing cabinet and that filing cabinet. It was, you're all online now. So we're just going to have to figure it out. And for me, the flexibility of working remotely is incredible. So I'm based in London, but it means that I can go home to Oxford for the day and do a couple of meetings there. I can then go on holiday, go travelling and just take my laptop with me, which means that I have the flexibility of not being constrained to one place.
So within your business, do you have a team of people that work for you, or is it just yourself? How's the setup?
So we have a couple of people in-house. So we have an admin assistant and a BD, so business development. But then we subcontract out most of the other work to UK-based practices. So we have a bookkeeper and he runs his own bookkeeping practice, but we use him for overflow bookkeeping, for example. The person that runs our payroll, Faye, she's absolutely brilliant, could not recommend enough. She runs her own bookkeeping payroll practice as well.
Great. And how do you find sort of managing people when they're remote to you?
Do you know what? For me, it's all I've ever known. So it's quite easy. But what's nice is they all have their own practices, so they understand what it means to run your own business. And so everyone's so good at communicating and we haven't had any problems. It's just been really delightful.
Perfect. So I'd like to get into the meat now of really what it is to be a Gen Z and actually how you're innovating or how Gen Z, you think, Gen Z are innovating business, basically. So if you could talk me through maybe some tools that you're using or basically how you would describe, being Gen Z and how you're innovating in general. I know obviously the remote working is part of that because there's a lot of business owners that are probably listening to this and almost terrified at the thought of just remote working for everybody, but I think it's great. But yeah, I'd love to know what else you're doing to sort of innovate.
Yeah, and just on the remote working, I'd say it's fab when you don't have any trainees. The reason we haven't taken on any trainees or apprentices is because I don't believe that they learn well in a completely remote environment. I think for that, you do have to be face to face. I remember when I was a trainee online, I was like, there's only so many times I can message someone on Microsoft Teams. And you learn so much from sitting next to someone and learning from them. So I think remote working has so many cons and it works for my practice where it is right now. But it's not something I would recommend if you're looking to take on apprentices or trainees. I think you just gain so much value from being face to face. But in terms of tools that we use, at the beginning, when I just got into content creation and I wasn't very good at it, I got my 18-year-old sister down from university to teach me how TikTok worked. And we used to use tools like answerthepublic.com, which is a free website, and you get 5 searches a day. So you can just type a word in, for example, tax, and it will come up with 50 to 100 most Google questions all about tax. So what are the tax brackets? When does the tax year end? And so we used to create content from those questions. So we'd answer those questions on social media, and you know that people are interested in them because you can see how many times they've been Googled in the UK, which is incredibly helpful. From there, we use different apps like CapCut to be able to edit our videos because you can sit there for 10 minutes and mess it up 100 times and then you need to clip it together. We also use it for things like adding subtitles into videos, which is really helpful, and titles and animations as well. In terms of scheduling our posts, we just do it all in app. So I sit on a Sunday for an hour scheduling to LinkedIn and Instagram and TikTok all within the app. We don't use anything else.
Wow, so everything's done for you and scheduled through the app. That's it. That's really interesting. I can see, obviously, I had a quick bit of research before about your personal brand, and it seems to be quite a big part of how you've grown your business. So you've got over 12,000 followers on LinkedIn, you've got over 7,000 TikTok. I was wondering if you could talk me through the personal branding side of what you do in a bit more detail.
Yeah, of course. So when I started, I was absolutely terrified. I didn't have a big social media presence before. I just posted holiday pics because that's the only thing that was interesting about my life. And so when I saw other people in different industries creating a personal brand, I was like, well, surely accounting can't be any different. And obviously, Rachel Harris in the accounting industry, she's created a massive personal brand for herself. And I was like, okay, well, I hate networking. I do. It's not something I feel confident in at the time. It's something I love doing now just because exposure therapy. And I thought, how can I reach people without having to leave my house? And so I thought, okay, let me build a personal brand. And so for me, it was going on a big piece of paper on a big mind map with my name in the middle, big circle, and then what do I want to stand for as a person? What personal brand do I want to create? What values do I want to have? And what knowledge do I want to share? So I thought, right, well, the apprenticeship route is unique and brilliant and people could shout about it more. So that's what I'm going to shout about. So when I started, my content pillars were apprenticeships, young business owners, and financial education. And so from there, then I made sure that every piece of content was hitting one of those content pillars, whether it was talking about my personal journey in my apprenticeship, talking about tax brackets to hit financial education, or sharing my journey as a young business owner to hit that pillar of young business owners. And so it was a lot of trial and error. It's very embarrassing to start on zero followers on any platform. And sometimes I had videos on TikTok that have 5 views, and it's really quite embarrassing. Again, with LinkedIn, if you start posting, you're not going to blow up overnight. It is all about consistency. And it is quite demoralizing when you put in a lot of effort to something and 2 people like it, one of them being me on my other account and one of them being my mum. And so it is about consistency and seeing what works and what doesn't. I will always find on LinkedIn, the more personal I go, the better it will do.
Mm-hmm.
On TikTok, tax things will do really well for me, talking about salaries and tax and NI contributions. But if I post something, I don't know, about my holiday, no one cares.
Right. Would you say, you mentioned before about most of the business coming from TikTok? What was the split? Is it all from social media, or do you get leads anywhere else, or what's the split like?
I would say 95% come from social media. I'd say 5% come from people I meet at networking events. We've had a couple of referrals, but we don't push it as much because we love the organic growth from TikTok, which has been really helpful. I would say, 90% of our lead gen come from TikTok, or they'll come from TikTok and then DM us on Instagram saying, we found you on TikTok.
Would you say the type of people that work with you at the moment are they also Gen Z, or are they from a different, bunch of different backgrounds?
So I think it's very much a 50-50 split. So we've got a couple of people that work with us that are older, and then two of them are Gen Z.
Wow. Okay. Right. Yeah. So it is a mix then. Okay. So you mentioned TikTok and LinkedIn. Is there any other platforms that you use within your personal brand, or are they your main ones?
Yeah, so we use Instagram as well as YouTube.
Perfect. And what advice would you give to someone who's just starting out? I know you've given a few bits there, but just starting out with their personal brand, what would be the maybe the one piece of advice you'd give?
Be yourself. Like, people want to create this like amazing personal brand, and it's not going to be authentic unless it's actually you. So when people see me online, I'm super shy. I love chatting to people. And then when they meet me in person, I'm the exact same. And so you have to be authentically yourself. Otherwise, imagine if you came to me at an event and I was introverted and I didn't want to speak to anyone, and then I ignored everyone that wanted to speak to me. Everyone would be like, oh, well, her personal brand isn't matching herself. And then you lose a bit of trust with your audience. So even if you are introverted, then say it, work your personal brand around that, open up about it is really important. And so it's just literally about being authentically you.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. And the next thing I want to talk about is how businesses in general what they can learn from Gen Z. So really, let's say as a business leader, what specifically can I do to align my company with a Gen Z's values, or potentially, what snippets could I learn from them in order to push my business forward?
I think efficiency is something that we can take away from Gen Z. I think they have such I can't say the word, a different way of thinking about
Yeah,
things.
perfect.
And so I think that's really important to take away. They're really good at finding efficiencies within a business. Obviously, they feel a lot more comfortable using technology and AI and things like that within a business. Some people don't want to because they're scared of it or they don't understand it, which is perfectly okay. But do start to integrate it slowly in bite-sized chunks that you feel happy and comfortable with, because it will improve the efficiency of your company.
Yeah, I'd say Gen Z are the first group really to come up and grown up surrounded by technology. So
Yeah.
would you say it's important to hire in, if you're a business owner that is a bit older, to hire in Gen Z specifically for that role and drive the innovation of technology forward?
100%. And even for social media, hiring someone that is Gen Z is so good because they understand how it works. They're up to date with all the trends because they look at it constantly anyway. And so they're able to do that without you having to learn about it, because it is quite scary and a lot to put on your plate. So getting someone in that is already an expert in that world is so valuable.
You've also mentioned a few things, obviously, about remote working, but what can a business owner do to create an environment that Gen Z would want to come and work for them?
I think for Gen Z, and I can't speak for all of us because there is quite a few, but I think flexibility is really key. So for me, for example, I don't put any meeting in my calendar before 10 o'clock because I'm not a morning person, but I will work much later into the evening than the average person because that's just when I'm more awake and I'm more efficient and I get things done. And so it's having that flexibility. So it might be that the normal working hours are 9 to 5, but someone would rather work 10 till 6. It's the same amount of hours, they'll still get the same things done, but it just works around their time schedule a bit better. And it's having flexible working hours so people can take breaks for doctor's appointments and things like that and make up the hours elsewhere, I think is really important.
So flexibility then is the key, you'd say.
Yeah, for sure.
Is there anything else that you think would be appealing to someone in that generation?
I think the sense of community, because for us, when we were, well, I mean, I was 17, 18, we had COVID, and obviously that we didn't have community then. We didn't get to interact with people or live our best lives because we were shut inside. And so I think a sense of community in a workplace is really important. Gen Z love community. There's so many communities out there that are parts of businesses, so people feel included and wanted and understood. So creating a good people culture and community within your business is really important.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. And in terms of Gen Z's role in sort of innovating, you mentioned about hiring them in for technology. Is there any other ways that you'd say they are pushing things forward?
I just think they have a different perspective and outlook. I think that's the same with any generation. That's why I think within people's businesses, it's so important to have people from older and younger generations because they bring a completely different perspective. And for me, those that I work with from an older generation, they bring so much knowledge and wisdom that I haven't experienced yet. So they're able to help me basically guide me on my journey and tell me what they think is going to work and what isn't. But because we have two different perspectives, we can have an open dialogue about it, which is so valuable. So it's just learning from different people around you.
Okay, perfect. The next thing I want to do is just a few quick fire type questions. So the first one is there any tool that you can't live without? CapCut. Okay, why
I live
CapCut?
and die on CapCut. Basically, I film all my videos, like I'll create them, but I need CapCut to edit them. So without it, I would probably die a very slow death and would not be able to make any content.
Perfect. That's a great answer. If you could innovate one thing to make your life easier, what would that be?
Think it would be having some sort of AI to respond to all of my LinkedIn messages to filter through them because some of them are great, but some of them you just get spam messages, and I
Hmm.
don't need to waste my time like reading all of them.
Hmm. That sounds good. I'm sure someone out there should invent that for sure. Next one is there any creator or could be Gen Z, could be anyone that you sort of look up to and think are really smashing it and everyone should go and follow?
Amy Smile, so she's the director of Odd Muse London, which is a fashion brand, and her brand have smashed TikTok. Like they've done so brilliantly. But her personal brand that she's grown has been really authentic and is genuinely so lovely to watch. So she's absolutely smashing it.
I was literally talking about her yesterday with someone else, so she must be doing something right.
Yeah, she's brilliant. I love her.
Perfect. And last thing is there anything from this conversation that you think this is the one thing I'd want people to take away from it? Is there anything that comes to mind?
I think it's just learning to be comfortable in yourself. It wasn't something I was used to when I was younger, but now I've really embraced it. And obviously, it's really helped to propel my business forward. But it's also about being consistent. You can post 3 times and nothing happens. But if you keep going and going, like it will only grow. There have been months when I've only gained like 100 followers, and it's a bit depressing. There's other months where I've gained 1,000 followers because I've put in more effort. And so it's really just important to show up as much as you can.
Yeah, I think consistency's certainly been a big part of what I've taken from what you've told me so far. So yeah, that's really good. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there. Keep it short and sweet. I really appreciate your time, Grace, and I'm sure people that are listening to this will get a load of good little snippets of information from you today. So thanks a lot.
Thank you.